Also, the impact of perhaps, you know, the HR, the reputation of HR back in kind of the 80s and 90s has led to perhaps some uncertainty and some distrust in HR these days. So whether, you know, parents or perhaps yourself, Dominic, being involved in HR yourself, the reaction that you get from people if, you know, HR people appear in if you're part of a shared service and then you appear in a business area's building for whatever reason, just to go and have a meeting with somebody, quite often you can get a reaction that somebody's a bit concerned, somebody's a bit worried, and they're a bit, you know, they're a bit not quite sure of you. And I very much think that reaction is wholeheartedly linked to the way things really used to be with HR. So the problem that we have these days is trying to change that and trying to kind of increase trust and make people feel as though actually we're there to, as a team, we're there to support, guide, and yes, guide managers and do things properly, but make sure things are done fairly as well. And I think that's kind of, if you can base your motive on that in everything that you try and do, I think that's really important. So, to talk to you a little bit about kind of HR structures and HR roles, I think it's quite key for you to understand HR, the structure of HR, and particularly what each role might cover within HR. So we would normally start off with kind of an HR administrator or an HR assistant. I mean, Dominic, do you have that sort of level in your business at the minute? Yeah. So you've got, what are they called, assistants or?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Okay, and usually they might cover things like distributing letters and making sure that, you know, if there's an update to salary or if there's an update to pension contributions, that person would be responsible for making sure that everyone becomes aware of that. Perhaps some recruitment activities involved with perhaps certain kind of mandatory form writing and things like that. Then we would go on to HR advisor, who would be responsible for usually from a remote perspective, guiding managers through a process within the business. So if a manager wanted some advice on managing somebody's absence, they've got somebody that's kind of been off quite a bit, they're not quite sure how to manage it, what their options are in terms of what am I supposed to say to this person, the HR advisor would be there to give them on hand advice on what to do. Then there would be an HR business partner usually. It does depend on the structure of the business. So HR business partner would be there, you know, as I've described what my role is, to absolutely partner up with line managers and actively be involved in the activities that they're doing, and also there to advise and guide. But it would usually depend on the size and the structure of the business as to whether that role might be in there or not. Quite a common role within most businesses is HR manager. So whether that be that, you know, a small business that employs 300 people just has one HR person and that person's the HR manager, it can be different. But the HR manager, as I say, would be usually responsible for the function of HR. So whether that be that they're looking after all aspects of HR because they're the only person, or whether they're overseeing a team as well. With the slightly bigger businesses and the businesses that have a lot more of a strategic view for HR, there would quite often be an HR director or perhaps head of HR. And that role, as I say, would be to be very much collaborating with the business's execs and the business's directors to make sure that the HR strategy is in line with the business's strategy and we're all sort of going in the same direction.